She didn't just leave me. She upgraded, not to a stranger, not to a coworker, to my rich uncle, the same man who shook my hand at family gatherings, the same man who called me son. She said it wasn't personal, that it was about security. What followed wasn't a fight. It was a family dinner where everyone finally learned the price of betrayal and who actually held the power. My name is Aaron Blake, and up until 3 months before our wedding, I thought I understood my family. I'd been engaged to Natalie for 2 years. We met young, built slowly, planned carefully. We weren't rich, but we were stable. Or so I believed. Then my Uncle Richard started showing up more often. Richard was the success story of the family. Private equity, multiple properties, quiet money. The kind of man people spoke about in lowered voices. Natalie noticed him immediately. At first, it was harmless. Compliments, laughter, conversations that lasted a little too long. Then came the distance. Natalie started talking differently, about options, about future security, about how love wasn't always enough. The night she left, she didn't cry. She sat across from me, calm, rehearsed. "I need more," she said. "And I don't want to struggle." She didn't say his name, but she didn't need to. 2 weeks later, my mother called. There was going to be a family dinner, and everyone was invited, including Natalie, including my uncle. I said yes, not because I wanted answers, but because I already had them. The dinner was scheduled for Sunday evening. My parents' house. Long table, white tablecloth, the kind of setting meant to pretend everything was normal. Nothing was normal. I arrived early on purpose, not to help, to observe. My Uncle Richard showed up 20 minutes later, confident, relaxed, already acting like he belonged everywhere. Natalie walked in behind him, not beside him, behind. That detail mattered. She avoided my eyes at first, then glanced up, almost defiant, like she was daring me to react. I didn't. That unsettled her more than anger ever could. Dinner began politely, small talk, forced laughter, everyone avoiding the obvious like it was radioactive. Then my mother did what mothers do when they sense something wrong. She asked Natalie how the wedding planning was going. The room froze. Natalie hesitated, then smiled. "There won't be a wedding," she said lightly. Plans changed. My uncle cleared his throat. "I think it's time we're honest," he said. "Natalie and I are together." Silence, not shock, not outrage, calculation. Every face at that table was running numbers, money, loyalty, inheritance. I felt it clearly in that moment. This wasn't about love. It was about alignment. My uncle waited for me to explode. I didn't. I just nodded. And that's when he realized something was off. Because men like him understand anger. They don't understand restraint. The silence after my uncle's confession stretched longer than anyone expected. He was used to reactions, shock, anger, gratitude even. Not this. Natalie shifted in her seat. She glanced at me again, searching my face for something. Hurt, rage, humiliation. I gave her nothing. My uncle finally spoke. "Aaron," he said, lowering his voice, "I know this is complicated, but I didn't plan this. It just happened." I looked at him. "No," I said calmly. "It didn't." The table went still. "You showed up more," I continued. "You offered things I couldn't. Trips, promises, a lifestyle." Natalie's smile faltered. "That's not fair," she said quickly. "You know I loved you." I nodded. "You loved what I represented." My father cleared his throat. "Son." I raised my hand gently. "It's fine." I turned back to my uncle. "What you didn't realize," I said, "is that you weren't the smartest person in the room." That got his attention. I reached into my jacket and placed a slim folder on the table. Not dramatically. Precisely. I've been managing your trust accounts for 5 years, I said, quietly, because you preferred it that way. Natalie's eyes widened. My uncle stiffened. I also manage the holding company that owns 3 of your properties, I continued, and the shell that protects your offshore exposure. The room went cold. I signed the paperwork that kept your wealth invisible, I said. And tonight, I decided not to renew those structures. My uncle swallowed. Natalie finally understood. She hadn't upgraded. She'd stepped into the wrong hierarchy. My uncle laughed at first, a short, forced sound. "You're bluffing," he said. "You wouldn't jeopardize family like that." I didn't raise my voice. "I already did," I replied. 5 minutes ago. Natalie's hand slid instinctively toward his arm. "What does that mean?" she asked. I looked at her, not with anger, not with regret. "With transparency," I said, "the kind you don't get to opt out of." My uncle reached for his phone. No signal, not because of service, because I'd anticipated this exact moment. "I informed my compliance team earlier today," I continued. "When a trust manager steps away, audits trigger automatically." My mother gasped softly. My father stared at the table. Richard's confidence drained in real time. "You're overreacting," Natalie said, her voice tight. "This is just about money." I shook my head slowly. "No, this is about access." I stood up. For years, Richard benefited from discretion he didn't earn, from systems he didn't understand, from protection he assumed was permanent. I leaned forward slightly. Tonight, that protection ended. My uncle's jaw tightened. "You wouldn't destroy me," he said quietly. "I didn't," I answered. "I just stopped saving you." Silence crashed down on the table. Natalie's face had gone pale. She finally saw it. She hadn't chosen security. She'd chosen proximity to power that was never actually his. No one touched their food. Plates sat untouched as the weight of what I'd said settled into the room. My uncle finally stood, slow and deliberate, as if moving carefully might stop what was already in motion. "You think you're clever," he said. "You think this makes you powerful." I met his eyes. "I don't think about power," I said. "I think about responsibility." Natalie's voice broke through, sharp and panicked. "Aaron, please, this is going too far." I turned to her. "This is exactly as far as it goes," I replied. "You wanted certainty. This is what it looks like when it's real." She shook her head, blinking fast. "I didn't know. He told me—" "He told you what you wanted to hear," I said. "And you believed it, because it felt safer than patience." My uncle exhaled, a long, controlled breath. "We can fix this," he said. "I'll make calls." I nodded once. "You should." "And you?" he asked. "What do you want?" I paused, not for effect, but because the answer mattered. "I want distance," I said, "from people who confuse leverage with loyalty." Natalie stood abruptly. "So that's it? You just erase us?" I shook my head. "No, I stopped protecting you." Her shoulders sagged. For the first time since she'd left me, the certainty was gone. She looked around the table, at my parents, at the man she'd chosen, at me, and she realized there was no one left to advocate for her. Regret isn't loud. It's the sound of options closing. The dinner ended without a scene. No shouting, no apologies, just chairs scraping softly as people stood and realized things would never return to the way they were. My uncle left first, not triumphant, not defeated, just smaller. Natalie lingered. She looked at me like someone trying to recognize a place they once called home. And failing. "I didn't think you'd become this," she said quietly. "I didn't," I replied. "I already was." She nodded, tears finally falling, not from heartbreak, but from understanding. She hadn't lost me at the altar. She'd lost me the moment she chose proximity to wealth over alignment with power. Weeks later, the audits became public. The trusts dissolved. The lifestyle disappeared. Natalie didn't stay. My uncle didn't recover, and I didn't gloat. Because revenge wasn't the point. Revealing the truth was. Some people trade loyalty for leverage and learn too late which one actually holds value.